What's good, everyone? It's your boy Natu with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And I feel like I'm breaking something here, having the two biggest Washington football team YouTubers right here on the Washington Football Weekly live stream tonight. We of course have Louie T and the real Ed Oliver. And for the people out there who might not know who you guys are, very slim chance of that. But will you guys introduce yourselves to the channel? And I guess we can first start off with Mr. Lockdown Wizards himself, Ed Oliver.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's the real Ed Oliver, not the one from the Buffalo Bills. You already know. And if you are Wizards fans, make sure you guys check out Locked On Wizards. I am the new host of the show, so it should be a lot of fun.
Louie?
What's going on? It's your man Louie T, host of the Louie T Network. Checking in here over on DMV3 Sports. It's honor to be on the program, and I'm looking to chop it up and talk Burgundy and Gold. We less than a week from training camp, so let's get it.
Yeah, man, for sure. I was going to start off by asking you guys about the whole name situation because that was, of course, top of mind from the news of the last couple of weeks. But obviously tonight we had some vaccine news that dropped from the NFL. Tom Pelissero basically dropped the memo that the NFL sent out to all their players and coaches, saying essentially that a team will have to forfeit a game if a game cannot be rescheduled due to a virus outbreak. And I was wondering, what are your guys' thoughts on the memo that was posted on social media today? And also the fact that Washington, although according to JP Finley, they are steadily improving their vaccination rates among the team. What are your thoughts on Washington being, bottom of the league right now in terms of vaccination rates? And do you think that will affect players' health or potentially pose some scheduling issues down the road?
I hope not. We all know Montez Sweat is not going to get vaccinated, so that's one guy we can wipe off the list to get convinced. But yeah, it's somewhat of a concern. I mean, if we have to forfeit a game because we have a virus outbreak, it's going to be terrible. And last year we did such a good job. We were one of the better teams with it. Like we had one of the least cases. We didn't have a lot of guys sit out for the virus. So, especially around Ron, we didn't want a lot of nonsense around him, with his, with the stuff that he had last year, the health conditions. So I would hate to see us lose a game just because of something outside of playing the game. So that would be terrible. But yeah, I hope, I am vaccinated myself. I'm not trying to convince somebody, because people have their own beliefs. If they don't believe in the vaccine, I'm not here to convince them to get it. So I do get some people's concerns about it, but I hope it just doesn't come back to bite us in the butt in the long run.
Yeah, the NFL is going to do their best to try and vaccine shame everyone into getting it, which is fine. They have an agenda to push, and that's okay. They're going to go out of their way to make it a point of emphasis to say, hey, if you don't meet the 85% quota that we've set for all teams in the league, we're going to make it tough. We're not going to go out of our way like we did last year to reschedule games and try to make sure that we play all 256, or now they're adding an extra 16 games, 72 games. We're not going to make sure that we go out of our way to make sure we play all of those games. We're going to make it tough on teams that don't meet that quota that we've set. And they're going to make an example out of the first team that doesn't or has an outbreak. And hopefully that isn't us. But like Ed said, we were great with it last year. But last year is last year. So you can't assume that that's going to be the case this year. But at the end of the day, these are all grown men. They're adults. They can make their own decision. Just like they're making the decision not to take the vaccine if they decide to do that. They also have to make smart decisions as to who they surround themselves with and try to keep themselves safe off the field so that they don't impact themselves or their teammates in the upcoming season. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it is what it is. It's the NFL trying to scare teams into getting the vaccine, and we'll see what happens.
I'll make a point here, too, in basketball. So Giannis's brother, Theonis, or I forgot how to pronounce his name. So he's out with health and safety protocols, but why isn't Giannis? So it's weird, because we know Giannis was around his brother. So why wasn't he sitting? Because he's Giannis, he's Giannis, so they're not going to sit him. So the way they do things with certain players is different, too. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and you also got to worry about the more transmissible Delta variant, right? That's right now the most prominent strain in the United States. So I definitely agree with you guys that might be sort of problematic down the road for the Washington football team, especially because this is a team that does have playoff aspirations, and if we have to forfeit a game because of a COVID outbreak, I mean that might be a problem. But we shall see. There's still a lot to go here in the offseason, and we shall see if the NFL becomes more strict when it comes to the guidelines for COVID-19 and the vaccines with players and stuff. But I do want to get to the question that I wanted to start off the stream with, and that is regarding the Washington football name change situation. And I just want your thoughts on the news that broke last week that the team is steering clear from any Native American imagery with a new moniker. And the discussion out there that fellow U Chicago Maroon, Jason Wright, has himself steered clear from in responding to the question of whether fans might or might not be able to wear the Redskins gear at FedEx Field come this fall. And we can start with Louie on this one.
So I talked about this last week. Someone actually brought it up on my program last week about Jason Wright steering clear of Washington fans wearing their gear at the games. And obviously Jason Wright is a smart guy, man. He's very tactical in the way he approaches every single question that is asked of him. And so he knew that there was no way he could win in that situation. So that's why he tap danced around the question. Because guess what? Fans are going to wear their Redskins gear. There's nothing he can do about that. And he knows that. And so the organization, they don't want fans wearing their Redskin gear. They want them to buy new gear. They want them to buy the Washington football team gear. They don't want them wearing that stuff. But guess what? They're going to wear it anyway. And he knows that. So he didn't feel like there was anything he could say in that situation to win. And he didn't want to look like a bad guy for saying, hey, don't wear your Redskin gear. Because, again, that's not going to go over well with fans. So he did his best to kind of tap dance around the question, not really answer it. But we all know what that was. It was essentially guilt by omission, essentially. Like, yeah, we really don't want you wearing that stuff, but what are we going to do? What am I going to tell you? Not to wear it? Then fans are going to wear it even more just to kind of throw it in the organization's face. So there was no winning there, so he kind of danced around that. As far as the name is concerned, everyone knew that they were going to stay away from Native American imagery. That wasn't a bombshell. What was a little bit of a bombshell for me anyway was the fact that he dropped two gems on our melon, really. One was, hey, don't look for Warriors. That's not coming. Oh, okay. Didn't see that. That was the leader in my clubhouse. I thought they were going to go with the default Warriors. So that was a little bit of news. And he said, hey, look, doesn't necessarily have to start with an R. So, for all of you needs to start with the R guys and gals out there, don't look for that either. So I think he's subtly just scratching things off the list just in case you were keeping a list at home. He's telling you, all right, if you want to guess what the name is going to be, not going to be Warriors, not going to be anything. And I don't know about you guys, but Wolves sort of kind of has Native American ties. I mean, that's literally their spirit animal, if you will. So I don't know if he's trying to say, hey, don't look for Wolves either. But the R thing is interesting. It's a lot of words that start with R that we've been thinking and people have been throwing out there, including Red Wolves. So I think he's trying to say, hey, when we throw Senators or something at you, or as I've said all along, I think Washington Football Club or something like that, they keep using that, could be coming as well. It's really convoluted, but it's going to be fascinating to see what they ultimately decide on.
But Louie, where do you draw the line though when it comes to this Native American imagery, right? Because I mean, it's a tricky situation. You even touched on it, but
yeah, that's why they did it. It's so vague, right?
Yeah.
So it's like this has been a guessing game the entire time. I think they've known the name all along, and I think they've tried to conjure up all of this fan engagement to make people feel like they're a part of the process. I feel like they've known all along what the name's going to be, and they're just kind of making sure they dot all their I's, cross all their T's, and things of that nature. So honestly, at the end of the day, we'll see what they decide to do. But, they're dropping breadcrumbs. That's essentially what they're doing. And I think they're doing that to prepare us for a name that we may not agree with. You can't win. You're not going to get 100% of people on board. They're going to think the name's stupid. They're going to think the name's cool, whatever the case may be. You're going to get people. It's going to be pushback, whatever the name ultimately is, even if it stays the same. There's going to be pushback. So they're trying to drop breadcrumbs to prepare you for what could potentially be the worst for some people.
Like the Wizards, right, Ed?
I knew you were going to say the Wizards. I knew it. I knew it. I would love it if they were called the Bullets. That would be perfect. But I know it's not going to happen. But I mentally checked out on the name last year when everybody was excited. Like, we all thought the name was going to get dropped. I think you had a guest on here who's like a big reporter. I forgot his name. But he tweeted. He was like, the name's going to be released the next day or something like that. But after, like, July 2020, I checked out. I'm on the same page with Daryl Green where I don't care. It could be the cupcakes as long as we win football games. You know, we haven't made the playoffs back-to-back in years, so I'm kind of over the name. I wouldn't mind it if it stays Washington football team. I know a lot of people don't want that, but I'm just so over the name right now. I'm a Red Wolves guy. That's the front runner for me. If we had to pick a name, if we were forced to get a name or whatever, that's the only name I would really want. I'm happy it's not Warriors, because when I think about Warriors, I think about Stephen Curry. I think about Klay Thompson. Those guys are going to overshadow us. They've won 3 championships in the last 5 years. So I wouldn't be mad if it's Washington football team. I know a lot of people wouldn't want that, but yeah, if we're just called the cupcakes, as long as we win football games, I'm fine with that.
And let me piggyback off of that. Let me just make it clear. My choice wasn't Washington Warriors. I don't give a shit what the name is of the team. I've stated that numerous times. I don't really care at this point. Like I said, they're not going to name it something stupid, like the Washington, the Washington, I don't know, they're not going to name it something stupid like the Washington tampons. Like, I don't have to worry about that. They're not going to name it something dumb. So I don't really care what the name is. Honestly, I'm in the same boat as that. Just win football games. At the end of the day, it is what it is. I'll never be attached to another name like I was with the Redskins. That's the bottom line. It doesn't really matter what you change it to. I won't have the same attachment to that name as I did Redskins, and that's the bottom line for me.
Yeah.
Do you think
but I'll say one more thing. As far as the gear and stuff, yeah, a lot of people will not go with that. I'm not gonna say they're gonna riot and push back security if they try to have security out there pushing people back with wearing Redskins jerseys, but it's gonna look like that Detroit game, like a couple years ago when it was $4 tickets. That's how it's gonna look if they don't let people in with Redskins jerseys and shirts and hats. It's gonna look just like that.
Trust me, he wants your money more than he cares about you wearing Redskins gear. They're not stopping anybody from coming in with Redskins gear. Trust and believe that.
Yeah, check out training camp next week. You see all the fans. They got a fan appreciation thing, I think, next Friday at the stadium. So you're gonna see a lot of Redskins gear. And even when I go to the stadium, when we score a touchdown, I'm gonna sing the song too. I know there's gonna be a lot of people singing the song. Once we score, everybody's gonna sing the hell to the Redskins song. I already know.
Yeah. I do want to shout out all the people in the chat. Should have done it at the beginning, but I want to shout out Pedro, Rep the District, Samuel, Uria, as always. There is a lot of vaccine talk. I don't know if you can see the comments right now, guys, but a lot of people are definitely interested, or were interested in our conversation from earlier. I do want to say, though, when it comes to the whole name situation, and one of the reasons why I think Red Wolves should be the next name is because sort of what Louie talked about, right? There is always going to be a part of the fan base that will not be satisfied with the name. You're not going to be able to satisfy everybody with the next name. I think we can all agree on that, right? Mm-hmm. So why not go and satisfy the younger generations of fans that you've been losing over the last 5, 6, 7 plus years, right? Because of constant losing, constant dysfunction from the top down of this organization, and go with a name like Red Wolves, right? Like, go with a name that has already gotten a lot of traction among the young fan base, right? That you're trying to grow and ultimately, hopefully, capture for decades, right? So do you guys have a take on that perspective, I guess, or that point right there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of validity to that. There has been this influx of fans over the years that they've lost from, all of the losing, the dysfunction, the mismanagement, and, they've lost an entire generation. It feels like, it's the younger generation they like other teams in the city. You know, they like the Caps. They just won a Stanley Cup. You know what I mean? And the Nats just won a World Series, so they gravitate towards those teams. And they don't know anything about the Washington Redskins or the football team. They all they've known this organization to be is a mess. So if you want to maybe bring in some of those fans and you know, kind of rebrand yourself and bring some of these young fans on board, maybe that is the way to go. I don't know if they're very interested in doing that or not. I don't know if they are able to get all of the things from a licensing standpoint and a branding standpoint that comes with Red Wolves. So there are a lot of different things that you have to look into. It's not just as simple as saying, hey, we want this name, it's ours, you know. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But at the end of the day, there has been this outpouring for Red Wolves, and a lot of people are backing that name. And I think if they wanted to be safe, that's the best option for them to go, because I think there's a larger percentage of people that want Red Wolves than any other name out there. So, of course, there's going to still be a majority that don't like Red Wolves, thinks it's a 8th grade JV name, you know what I mean, or Pop Warner name. But at the end of the day, I think there are more people out there that would support that name than any other name that they could choose.
Yeah, it would definitely keep the millennials in there. And what is it called? Generation Z? Is that the new one? So, yeah, I know that the young people, they love the Red Wolves. It's more fun. I mean, people want to howl. I'm not howling, but I know I've heard some people definitely want to howl.
You know what's crazy about that is it's taken on a life of its own. They've already come up with marketing schemes like we could call the stadium the Wolf Den, and the defense could be the Wolf Pack. And I'm like,
thank Fred Smoot for that.
Really? Yeah. Like, y'all have already thought about all of these different things. Like, it's just crazy to me. It's just wild.
Some of the jerseys do look cool. I'll say that.
Some of the imagery, I will say, some of the imagery has been dope. Yeah, I can't get with that.
Are you guys a big fan of potentially going to an actual burgundy and gold color scheme? Because I know we've been rocking the mustard yellow pants for the last couple of years, but I don't know if you guys seen some of the jersey designs and stuff, but like there's been some where like they go with the straight up gold color. I don't know if you guys are a fan of that or you have a preference. I don't know.
Well, yeah, we were supposed to do that when they had the picture of Trent on Thursday Night Football. I remember that. Yellow, the color rush. Yeah, I remember that. That was
hideous. I'm glad they didn't do
that. Yeah, I'm happy we didn't do that. So yeah, yellow. I hated the burgundy. That's why we lost to Seattle, because we wore the burgundy on burgundy. We got a little too, because we beat the Steelers with white on white. We're like, okay, yeah, let's do burgundy and burgundy against Seattle, and we lost. We could have won that game, but other things happened in that game. I'm not gonna say that's why we, lost, but at the same time, burgundy. We're like 0-2 or 0-3. I think the last time we wore burgundy on burgundy was Jason Campbell.
Yeah, so, I was about to say I can't remember when we won a game with burgundy on. Even though it's dope, it's a dope combo. I just can't remember the last time we won a game wearing burgundy on burgundy.
Yeah, I would leave it alone. I think white on white is the way to go. But save white on white. Don't wear it out. Save it for the big game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them wear white on white right towards the tail end of last season and some big time games, and it's worked. So I definitely agree with that. I do want to get to something that I don't know if you guys heard is happening next week. It's a little thing called training camp. And so it's getting a lot of buzz as always. And I do want to ask you guys a couple of questions regarding training camp next week for the Wasp football team. The first question that I want to ask you is, what are the 3 biggest position battles you see shaping up next week? And this time we can start with Ed.
Wide receiver, I'll go with the glamorous position first. That's the easy one. AGG, Calvin. Some people think Adam Humphries is going to get cut. Steven, I shouldn't even really bring up Steven Sims' name. I mean, we already know he's not going to make the roster. Isaiah Wright, he might make the practice squad. We'll see. DeAndre Carter is somewhat of a wild card because he can return punts. But yeah, I guess the other ones would probably be Wes Schweitzer versus Eric Flowers, because they're both really solid. I mean, we saw Wes do some crazy workouts the past couple of weeks. He's done some crazy stuff that I've never seen before. And the last one might be, I guess, who's going to start at free safety? You know, it's a lot of safeties in there, and nobody really stands out. I mean, Cam Curl would be the strong safety, and we don't know if Landon's going to be back week 1.
Yeah.
So I would just say who's really going to start at free safety for me.
So, I mean, obviously, right out of the gate, quarterback is the top of the list. So we got to start there. I mean, the assumption is Fitzpatrick's going to be the guy, right? But, well, you know, I wouldn't count out Heineke or Allen. Those guys know the system a little bit better than Fitzpatrick does. And we'll see if he's able to gel and mesh, because the word out of OTAs, it's OTAs. I know, I get it. I don't want to put too much on that. But the word out of OTAs is that he was arguably the third best quarterback there. Without a doubt, Heineke was the best guy at OTAs, but that's to be expected, right? You know, Heineke's in his third, fourth year of the system. This is, you know, Fitzpatrick's first. He's still, you know, trying to get on the same page with a lot of these guys he's never thrown the football to. So let's see what Fitzpatrick looks like. The assumption is he'll be the starter week 1, and I don't really see that changing barring any kind of catastrophe. Obviously, another position or positions is offensive line. Really, remember, 60% of our offensive line is going to be brand spanking new guys that did not start week 1 last year. Even if Wes Schweitzer is our starting left guard, he did not start week 1 last year. That was Wes Martin. So you got to assume that the tackle positions are up for grabs. They didn't draft Samuel Cosme to just sit him on the bench, right? So you think he's going to be in the mix at right tackle. I still think he's ultimately going to start or ultimately start the season off as a backup, and I think that they're going to roll with Cornelius Lucas, but we'll see what happens. He could win that job. And then you get to nickel. I'm interested with nickel corner because you know, everybody keeps talking about Juice and him taking over outside and kicking Kendall Fuller inside, but he's still a rookie, and they're not going to just start Juice outside week 1. I think that, you know, everybody just assumes Bobby McCain was brought in here to play free safety. Bobby McCain is truly a nickel. Okay, the Dolphins put him at safety out of necessity, and he just stayed there. But this guy's a nickel corner. I don't think we've been getting enough production out of our nickel corner. So I'm interested to see. I don't think they love Jimmy Moreland. I don't think Jimmy's terrible. I don't think Jimmy's great either. I think Jimmy's more built for the outside. And so I think there may be a little bit of competition inside at nickel. And so those are some of the positional battles. Obviously, receiver in the final, you know, 2 spots. Think, you know, 3 guys probably for 2 spots. But, you know, those are the big ones that I'll be paying attention to as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I should have said quarterback. That's just, do I really believe wrong when he's saying it's a competition? Yeah. You know, hopefully he learned from his mistake from last year. But how did he was balling from what we heard? I hope he gets a fair shot, because I think preseason, I think he's going to put on a show, because preseason is perfect for a guy like Heineke. He already put on a show with the Vikings when he like laid out, because he did the little layout thing like he did in the playoffs. He's already done that before, so that's not his first time doing it. If you look at his preseason highlights, he already did that with the Vikings. So I think he's going to do some crazy stuff in preseason.
Louie, I know you mentioned the 3rd round pick on the defensive side of the ball, but I also want your guys' thoughts on the 3rd round pick on the offensive side of the ball, and Dyami Brown. I know both you guys mentioned wide receivers as a position group, of course, that it's definitely going to be interesting to watch over the next couple of weeks. But with Dyami Brown, do you think by the time week 1 comes around, do you think he'll actually potentially become a starting wide receiver for this team? Or do you think it's going to take a couple of weeks for him to really get, you know, some experience and ultimately taking over that starting spot as the season goes along? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think he's going to be ready now. I'm not expecting him to have 1,000 yards. I already made up in my mind. I'm expecting him to get like 600 to 700 over a 17-game season. So that's pretty good for a 3rd option. I think he just has speed. It's something that you can't teach. He can run. He just runs past guys. You know, he's done it in college. I think it's going to translate. He's already doing it to guys in OTAs and mini camps. So I think he's the perfect fit, because, you know, you're going to have to focus on Terry. You're going to have to focus on Curtis. And there's just one guy that's going to get some one-on-one matchups like Dyami, and I think it's going to work out for him. I think his game translates. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is a gunslinger. Heineke, he's not scared to throw the ball downfield. So I think we have the perfect quarterbacks for Dyami as well. So I think he'll do okay in the first couple of games. I wish we would play the Cowboys, because I think that would be a great game for him, because their secondary is bad. So that would make it easy for him to for him to get acclimated to the game. So I got to look at that first couple of games and look at our corner and secondary matchups first. But I think he should be okay through the first couple of games, through the first 5 games.
Really, what it boils down to is how much can he digest and how fast, because I think from what I understand, they want him to be more of an X receiver. So that's the backup to Terry. Yeah. But, the more he can digest, and it's tough, you're asking a young guy to come in here. All he did was play X at North Carolina. He didn't play the Z. He didn't play in the slot. He was their X receiver. He did not move around. So this is a guy that didn't have to digest a ton at North Carolina. So you're asking him to come in here and just essentially learn one position. You don't want to overload the young fella. So if he's playing X, well, guess what? Terry plays a ton of X. But, what we saw from Terry last year was an expansion of his game where he was able to play the Z and the slot last year. So if they can move around Terry, move Curtis Samuel around, never, ever trust a man with 2 first names, I think it'll create more opportunities for Diami to get on the field. And like Ed said, it's a matter of speed. We can't have enough of it. We didn't have enough of it last year. Teams took Terry away. They decided he's not beating us over the top. And we had nobody else to get vertical. So he's going to come in. He's going to have an opportunity to get vertical and create some big plays, stretch the football field. And there'll be opportunities for him. And will he take advantage of them remains to be seen. I like him a lot, but I said this when I broke him down. There were also some drops on film. So hopefully he catches the football, because there were some drops on film. But this guy has the potential to make some big plays. And I'm looking forward to him coming in and having an impact. And I wouldn't put too much on his plate. I wouldn't put, too many expectations on him. I'm not going to limit him either, but I'm not looking for him to come in and light the world on fire. I'm looking for him to come in and really just assimilate himself to this offense.
Yeah, all that speed and route running doesn't matter if you can't catch the ball, right? That's
one thing I'll say too is our 3rd round gems have hit in the last couple of years, so he's got that going for him. So I think he's going to be he's going to be another 3rd round gem.
Okay. Let's hope we can get 2 of them.
Yeah, Juice too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do want to get to Outlaw King's question right here, and I do want to preface this by saying, Louie T, I know you and I are pretty much on the same wavelength when it comes to John Bostic and our thoughts about him, and really just him being a backup on a very good team and not really being a starting linebacker, or us not wanting him to be a starting linebacker on this team. What are you guys' thoughts on John Bostic as the middle linebacker of the 2021 Washington defense? And do you think potentially Khaleke Hudson could, potentially man a starting linebacker spot this year alongside Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis? Or do you think that it's Bostic's job to lose at this point?
Bostic's a veteran. Ron does like Bostic, but he did bash Bostic as well last year in press conferences. He's durable. He's a good tackler. That's one thing I will say. He took out Andy Dalton. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but he sent a message to Dallas last year. So I mean, he's been reliable. I know you guys don't like him. Not a lot of people like him. He's not Mason Foster slow, but he's not the best in coverage. And Jamin Shirley will be
jersey too much.
We say
you see the back of his jersey too much.
That is
back
true.
There in coverage.
That is true. That Steelers game, we got super lucky. Ben overthrew. I can't remember the running back's name, but he overthrew that running back.
Yes,
he got super lucky in that game. So hopefully Jamin can keep up with these running backs out the backfield. That's just what we need, somebody to be faster and hit the gaps quicker too. A lot of people have him as a cut candidate too. Like you said, Khaleke could surprise some people and start a couple of games next year. So he is on that cusp. He is on that cusp. But I don't hate John Bostic like the majority of people do.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to start the season at middle linebacker. I think that they've been working Jamin Davis out as the starting middle linebacker. They've been really pleased with his development in being able to call the defense and getting everyone lined up. It's going to have to continue throughout training camp. It's one thing to do that in OTAs. It's another thing to do that throughout training camp and into the preseason. If he's able to show that he's able to digest the defense and get everybody lined up, that's why they love John Bostic, because if nothing else, he was going to make sure that everyone was lined up where they were supposed to be. And there is a comfort in knowing that when you send in a play call, your guy is going to get everybody lined up and get it in there in time so that they can adjust to any adjustments made by the offense. So if Jamin Davis can show that he can do that, I think that he gets the nod, right out of the gate. As far as Khaleke Hudson is concerned, there's been a lot of talk about him potentially being in the running to be that big nickel. That's what we saw a lot out of Cam Curl last year. We saw Landon Collins playing that Buffalo position before his injury, and they really like Khaleke Hudson's development this year, and he feels like he's so much more comfortable year 2 in Del Rio's system. And, he played a very similar position. They call it the Viper at Michigan, where it's a hybrid corner, hybrid safety, hybrid linebacker position. So he's really comfortable in that Buffalo nickel. And so I think Hudson is a guy to really pay attention to, keep an eye on. I've already said I think he's going to be one of our most improved players defensively this upcoming season. I do think he's going to get an opportunity. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do. That's why I'm so geeked for the preseason, because we're going to get a little bit of an inkling as to what they are going to do defensively in terms of where guys are lined up. We may not get a sense of, how much they're going to play this or that, because it's preseason. You get a lot of vanilla looks. But when they're in their base, we're going to see who's lining up at strong, who's lining up at, the will, who's lining up at the mic. When they go to nickel, is it just Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis on the field, which is what we hope, because that's you're going to play 60 to 65% of your snaps in your nickel. So when you get into nickel, you take a linebacker off the field. That more likely than not is going to be John Bostic if he's on the field, in our base, because that could be Khaleke Hudson. You never know. So the right now the assumption is Bostic's going to be one of your starters in your base, but as you get to nickel, you're hoping he comes off the field. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Now my favorite part of tonight's show, we're gonna get to some over/under stats questions, and I want to first start off by asking you guys about the defense. And I'll start off by talking about or asking you guys about the stud defensive end duo that we have here in DC with Chase Young and Montez Sweat. And rapid fire question right here, plus or minus 22.5 sacks collectively from the two. And for all the people out there who might have forgotten, Chase Young did have 7.5 sacks last year, and Montez Sweat had 9 sacks in the regular season and 1 in the playoffs.
Right.
So
I will take the over on the 22. You said 22.5 or 2022?
22.5.
I'll take the over on that, because I think that Chase Young is due for one of those monumental leaps. When you get these elite players, that second year for them, a lot of times there's an astronomical leap, because even though they're great, there's still this learning curve. The tackles are stronger, they're faster, more athletically gifted, and they're smarter than the guys you saw in college. So there's this adjustment period for these guys. And I think now that Chase has seen what the NFL has to offer, I think he knows what he has to do, and he's going to add certain elements to his game. We even saw that with Montez Sweat. I mean, Sweat to me was the most improved defensive player last year. And arguably, you could say he was our best defensive player last year. Montez Sweat was fantastic last year, and I don't think the 9 sacks does him justice. He was our most dominant run defender, and he got after the quarterback, and he made play after play. So there was a big leap for him last year. I expect the same, but I actually think for Chase Young, it actually shows up in the form of sacks. So I expect both of these guys to hit double digits, and I expect one, if not both of them, to surpass 12. So all it takes is for one of those guys to hit, 13 and the other to hit 10, and boom, you got 23. And I could see that really happening.
Plus or minus 22.5 sacks from Young and Sweat.
I'm gonna go under. They're gonna be close though, but I'm gonna go under. I got Chase getting 9 and Montez getting 10, so that's 19. So it's like right around that range. I got Matt Ioannidis getting a lot of. I got him getting like 8 or 9, getting back to his usual self. But yeah, Chase, he's gonna see a lot of double teams. He can't use that excuse all the time. It's the excuse we gave him. When you got 7.5 is still really good. That's really good for a rookie. But the generational talent tag on him, everybody's expecting him to get 10, 13, 14, 15 sacks. I still see 9 this year, and I think Montez is going to get 10. I think Montez will finally get the recognition that he deserves to get. I think he'll finally get his first Pro Bowl nod. I think he's like one of the most underrated defensive ends in this game. I got Chase getting 3 or 4 forced fumbles still too, though. But he's going to get 9. They're going to be impactful sacks. They're going to be 9 impactful sacks that really matter the most, that we need.
Okay. And how about the cornerback group, right? Kendall Fuller and William Jackson III combined plus or minus 5.5 interceptions this year. And they had 4 total last year. Obviously, all 4 of those were from Kendall Fuller. But what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I'm going to take the over, even though Will doesn't get many interceptions. And it's not all his fault because he said it himself. They don't throw his way a lot. If you look at the numbers, too, they don't really target him that much. But, yeah, I think this year he'll finally get a little more targeted because he's going up against some guys in the NFC East that they're going to throw the ball to these guys. They're not going to shy away from throwing to Amari and Kenny. Like, they're going to force the ball to Kenny Galladay. They're going to force the ball to Amari. They're going to force the ball to Devontae Smith and guys like that. And we play some big-time wide receivers this year, too, not just good quarterbacks. So I think Will is going to get tested a little bit more, a lot more than what he did with the Bengals. So I do think he's going to get at least, I see 3 for him. Kendall got 4 last year. I definitely see him getting like 4 or 5 again. So I got them going over 5.5. Definitely. I would bet on that one. I definitely bet on that one.
Yeah, I'm with Ed. I look at it like this. He's coming to a new conference. They don't respect him. They don't know him. So they're going to try him. He's going to have to show them that, hey, you don't want the smoke over here, man. You really want to take that over to the other side of the football field. And if he can't prove that, they're going to keep coming at him. So he earned his stripes literally in Cincinnati, and they just took their chances with the other guys. But he's no longer in Cincinnati. He's now in Washington. And so he's in a different conference, different division. They're like, yo, prove it. So if he's able to do that, the only way you scare quarterbacks, you don't scare quarterbacks with PBUs. You know why? Because you don't make them pay. You can have a pass breakup on first down and give up a touchdown on third down. If a quarterback makes a mistake on first down, you make him pay for that mistake. Those are the guys they stay away from. The guys that they know, if I make a mistake, if I'm off by a hair, it's going the other way. I don't get another chance. He's going to have to prove that to quarterbacks. And so I expect him to make some plays. We know what Kendall Fuller is all about. You know, you make a mistake in his general vicinity, while you can beat him and you can make plays on him, you make a mistake around him, he's going to make you pay. So, and that goes back to his first stint with Washington. So I too think that the 5.5 number is a good number to set it at, but I think they end up with about 6. So I'll go on the over on that as well.
Okay. Now on the opposite side of the ball, we have the quarterback who is presumed to be the starter come week 1. That is Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I was wondering, what are you guys' thoughts on this over-under, plus or minus 25.5 passing touchdowns this year, keeping in mind, of course, that his career high was 31 passing touchdowns with the Jets in 2015.
That's a good one. He has the perfect setup for it, but he has to play all 16 or all 17 games. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, it's hard for me to believe that he plays this whole season. It's so hard to believe it. I want to drink the Fitz Kool-Aid because he's the number 1 quarterback under pressure. He was the number 5 QBR last year.
Ed, put the cup down, Ed. Put the cup down, Ed. Put the cup down, Ed.
Yeah, I'm trying. I don't want to sink into it. Case Keenum got me because that sold me like, oh, he did the miracle in Minnesota. Okay, Case Keenum can come here and revive his career. John Beck, Grossman, guys like that. You don't want to fall into that trap. I think Fitz is better than all 3 of those guys at this moment. But to get 25, you gotta play 16, 17 games to get to 25. You're not gonna get a 25 playing like 8, 9 games that he's done the last couple of years. So I'm gonna say under. I want to say I want to say over, but track record just is saying under. But I'm rooting for Fitz. I'm rooting for him now. I really
am. So assuming health and assuming he's in the lineup, he'll eclipse that if he's in the lineup. If he's compromised or he's not playing well, then he won't. But if he's in the lineup, he'll eclipse 25 touchdown passes because he's talented enough to do it. And this might be the most talented group of skill players he's ever been around. So I do think that that's a very attainable goal for him. But, you know, the question is, at what expense? Okay, so he throws 27 touchdowns. How many interceptions is he going to throw? That's the question. And so I think that he can hit 25, no problem. I mean, what did he throw last year? Like 16 or 17? And he didn't even play that many games. I can't remember. It might have been 13, 14.
13
yeah, it wasn't, you know, think about that. Extrapolate that over 16, 17 games. What did he start? Maybe 7 games last year, max. So if he could throw 13 touchdowns and, you know, 5, 6 starts, whatever it was, I'd like to think that you extrapolate that over a 17-game season, you more than double that 13. You probably end up right around that 30 mark. So, yeah, he can hit that easy. It's just, hey, how many interceptions you getting with that?
More than double that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Is people keep talking about how well he played last year. Oh, if they would have kept Fitz in the lineup, they would have made the playoffs. He was 13/8. He wasn't even 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio last year. Like, what are y'all talking about? You know, it's still crazy.
I do think they possibly would have made the playoffs. I mean, he's better than Tua. Tua is like the 30th best quarterback in the league right now. And Fitz had his moments. I mean, when they pulled his face mask in the Raiders game, that was incredible. I got to give him some credit. He has played some of the best football in his career the last 2 years. I mean, I'm not going to get all into the fancy stats and stuff because he checks all the boxes on the stat sheet, on the little fancy stats and things like that. But when you watch the games, you know who Fitz is. You know what he's been for the last 16, 17 years. But he's been good. He's been okay. He's been a top 19, 18 quarterback. He's been a quarterback you can win some games with. I'll say that. And he did take a bad tanking for Tua team. He did win 6 games with him. I'll give him some credit. He's not the terrible Fitzpatrick that we've known forever. I'll give him that. And like I said, I don't want to drink too much of the Kool-Aid. I'm keeping it down. I'll vouch a little bit for Fitz, but I'm still not a believer. I'm not.
Yeah. You talked about fancy stats. I know this might rub a lot of fans the wrong way when I say this, but I did pretty much watch 106.7 The Fan, the Junkies a little bit a couple days ago, and they pretty much brought in an NFL expert that talked about Ryan Fitzpatrick's performance over the last couple of years and stuff, right? And he basically brought up the fact that while everybody loves to talk about how Ryan Fitzpatrick was, I believe, the first or second best quarterback under pressure, I think it was either last year or the last 2 years, he was 27th or 28th when it comes to no pressure. So that just shows you sort of like the dynamic that we have here, right, with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I don't know if you guys have like thoughts on that. And I mean, what should we just let the offensive lineman like let some pass rushes go and Ryan Fitzpatrick just, I don't know, yeet with the bar or something? I like what is more? How are we going to get the most effective play out of Ryan Fitzpatrick this year? We have the weapons, but like.
I would say a run game. He hasn't had a run game in a long time. He was the leading rusher for them when they were tanking for Tua. He was the leading rusher on the team. Ryan Fitzpatrick should never be a leading rusher on your team for 16 games. That's a terrible, terrible run game. Like, because Gibson, he's going to get at least 800 yards this year. At the least, I see 800 over a 17-game span. If he plays all 17 games, at least 800. So he hasn't really had a run game to rely on. So we get this run game going, keep the ball out of his hands, make things easy for him. We got the weapons. You got Logan Thomas, so that's a safety blanket right there. You got Curtis Samuel. If you have his best friend, Adam Humphries, that's an easy safety blanket right there. So just make things safe for him, make it easy, run the football, help him out. Scott's got to help him out.
Honestly, just playmakers make plays. You know, simply put, don't make him feel like he's got to win us the game. And if he can just go out, I watched him last year in situations where the Dolphins were able to run the football or the defense was just humming and he didn't have to do too much. He was comfortable in that. In past years, he hasn't been. He was comfortable in those settings last year. So if playmakers just make plays for him, you know, when opportunities present themselves, you take a slant and you're able to break a tackle, how many times have we seen our guys, outside of Terry, like, the Giants game comes to mind. Terry catches a dig route, breaks 2 tackles, and takes off and scores a touchdown. How many times have guys done that for us? We don't do those types of things. You're hoping that with all the talent now, with Curtis Samuel, never, ever trust a man with 2 first names, and guys like De'Ami Brown and, the additions to this football team that you think are going to be able to make big plays. You're hoping that he can just get it in the hands of playmakers and they can do the rest. He doesn't have to do as much, but at the end of the day, he's going to have to take care of the football. And when big plays present themselves, and this is what we didn't have last year, he's going to have to hit them. And he's been known to take those risks down the field, and we need more of those. So I am looking forward to that, if nothing else.
Okay. I know we're running a little bit short on time here, so I have a couple more questions to ask you guys. And the next question isn't necessarily a plus or minus question, or isn't a plus or minus question at all, but it is sort of a fun question, and it pretty much takes a look at the rest of the division. And this question here is: give me your top 5 players in the NFC East right now.
Wow. Okay. I think the best player in the division right now is Dak Prescott. So I would put him at number 1. I would take, are we going production? Are we going talent? Like what's the
going into the 2021 season, the 5 best players, if that makes sense. So we're accounting for talent, accounting for production, obviously health, but I mean at the same time, right, you always have like a Dak Prescott out there who's gonna show up, right, if he does start week 1.
All right, so yes, so Dak Prescott, I'm assuming health when I do this. So Dak Prescott is number 1. I think that I would go with Terry McLaurin too. I really think that guy is set up for a big time season this year. I would go with I really think right now, if we're going into the season, I think that Chase Young's the better talent, but I think Montez Sweat is a year ahead of him. So I'd put Sweat as probably the 3rd best player in the division. I would put Fletcher Cox at number 4, and I would put a healthy Saquon Barkley is tough to pass up on. I just know what he is when he's healthy, so I put him at number 5. We don't even know if he'll be ready, come week 1. I said, look, hey Saquon, come back week 3, bro. No reason to rush. Come back week 3. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. That's my 5, though.
That is a tough one. I don't even know where to go. There's so many guys, and it's so tough. That's a good question. It is. It's a good question. Saquon is in the top 5. I don't know the order, but I can just throw 5 guys in there. I don't know the order. The order is hard. Yeah, you got to throw a healthy Saquon in there. Yeah, I would throw Terry in there too. I throw Chase in there too. I hate to put Dak in there, but yeah, I'll put him in there. He is the best quarterback in the division. And Fletch. It's between Fletch and then on the outside looking in is I'll put some respect on Brandon Scherer's name.
There you go.
All-pro.
I was just about to ask.
Because he was our last All-Pro since a punter in 1996.
Let me ask y'all this: do y'all really think last year was an All-Pro season? Let me ask y'all that honestly. It's not a hard question.
It was a great year.
Silence is golden. The fact that both of y'all had to kind of hesitate tells me all I need to know. Last year was not an All-Pro season. It wasn't. He missed games. He wasn't dominant. When he was in there, he had some games where he was dominant. I think the biggest thing for me was the game he didn't play was telling. That was the Rams game where Aaron Donald went nuts because he wasn't in there. And between him and this guy Reeder at linebacker, they had 8 sacks. I think both of them might have had like 4 apiece. It was ridiculous. But Brandon Scherff is really, really good. All Pro. I don't even think that was his best season in Washington. I'm gonna be honest with you. So, he's really good. I don't think he's All Pro good though.
Yeah, I agree with Pedro right here. Zach Martin. If we're considering guards, right, in our division, I think Zach Martin.
Exactly. So you couldn't put him in the top 5 if you're gonna put Zach Martin over him, which is why I didn't put either one of them on the list. And Zach Martin's a much better, if you ask me. I shouldn't say much better. That's disrespectful. I think he is better than Sheriff. I do.
Okay. So I want to squeeze in this next question here, and it is another question about the division. And this question might be of more interest to the people in the chat right now, and that is, how do you think the divisional standings will play out in 2021? Do you think Washington will repeat as division champs this year? Do you think, maybe the Cowboys or the Giants could potentially win this division? Do you think the Eagles will come out of nowhere and win this division? What are you guys' thoughts on how the division will play out this year?
I'm just too superstitious, so I'm not going to say we're going to win. I'm just a superstitious guy. I can't get it out of my system. So by default, I got to say either the Giants or the Cowboys. But I don't think the Cowboys are going to win the division. I hate to see the Giants, but I think they're the slept-on NFC East team of the year. I mean, they made some good additions to. I mean, Kenny Galladay's a good player. Like, a lot of people hate on him and say he doesn't create separation, but he still gets 90 catches a year. Like, he still puts up big numbers. Just the factor is Danny fumbles, so you can't trust him. Do you really trust him to win a division and win 8-9 games? I don't trust that at all. But I just think their defense is good and the weapons around them are really, really good. So I could see them. If Danny plays decent, then they could win 9 games. And they have they got a second place schedule, right? So their schedule's not going to be as hard as ours. So they're going to have some easier games on the schedule too. But it's so hard to predict. I hate predicting the NFC East. I really do. There hasn't been a back-to-back winner in forever. I hate predicting the NFC East so much. So I'm going to go with the jinx thing and then go with the Giants.
Yeah, I think the Giants are one of the more underrated teams in the division. I think they're the most improved team from a roster standpoint on paper in the division. With that said, though, I still think the Cowboys with Dak Prescott, because the quarterback position is the most important position in the entire sport, and they're head and shoulders above the rest of the division. If Dak's healthy, it's not even close. So I look at their offensive talent. I know everybody says their defense stinks, and it does. It was historically bad last year, but I think they changed the most important thing about their defense, and that's their defensive coordinator. And so I think they're not going to be great on defense by any stretch of the imagination, but I think they'll be good enough defensively. I think that the Cowboys win this division. It wouldn't shock me if the Giants won it, but I think the Cowboys win this division. And don't sleep on us. But I think people forget that this is year 2 of a rebuild, and they don't want to hear that. The R word is a nasty, dirty word. But Ron came in and he said it takes 3 to 4 years in the military to change a culture. Like, I think I've said this on numerous shows. Like, the worst thing that happened, and it's a gift and a curse. The worst thing that could have happened to Ron was winning the division last year, because what it did was it put unrealistic expectations on him. Now everybody's thinking, 11, 12 wins this year. What? Are you serious? We won 7 games last year with one of the softest schedules in the league. You really think that with this murderer's row schedule this year, we're going to just win 11 games? Like, it's just tough. It's a tough spot to be in because, if they go 8-9 this year, that's not a terrible season. It's not a great season, obviously, by expectations by some people, but that's the next evolution for me is like 9-8. And that would be a promising season, especially if some of those wins come against good teams. So I see the Cowboys winning this division. Us or the Giants, I don't count either one of those teams. I can see either one of those teams grabbing a wild card as well.
Last question right here. You guys thought the top 5 question was a curveball. How about this one? Which team do you think has a brighter future, the Memphis Grizzlies or the Washington Wizards?
That is not even a close question. That's easy. We've got a budding superstar on our team.
We do have that shared fandom right there,
Yeah,
Louie T, John Morant.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, look at how many players on the Grizzlies roster are under the age of 25. Like, our team is so fun to watch, and they're not going away anytime soon. Whereas the Wizards don't really know if they're coming or going. They just got rid of their coach. I thought Russell Westbrook was phenomenal once he got healthy last year, but obviously Bradley Beal, are they going to keep him? Are they going to trade him? Does he want to stay? Is he going to sign a supermax? Like, there's so many questions with the Wizards. He sounds like he wants out, by the way. I don't think he'll say it, but I know that in Russ's case, Scott Brooks was his guy. That's his guy. So now, they got a new coach in Unseld. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But their roster is cool. It's not the Memphis Grizzlies roster.
I do want to mention, too, that Duke is going downhill. I love it. I love it so much.
We're not going downhill. We just had a little blip on the radar, but we'll see what happens.
Well, it was Duke's first losing. Did you guys have a losing record this year?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Woo. I haven't seen Duke ever do that, but that's a testament to how good Coach K is. But yeah, this farewell tour for Coach K, I don't think it's going to go well either this year.
Look, man, be careful what you wish for. That's all I'm gonna say.
But yeah, the Grizzlies, their thing is that they're in the Western Conference. So right. the Jazz, even teams like the Jazz are like the fourth, fifth best team in the league, but they're still better than the top 6 teams in the Eastern Conference. So that's the bad thing for the Grizzlies. If the Grizzlies win the East, they'd probably be a top 4, top 5 seed, but in the West, they're going to be fighting with Luka Doncic for the freaking 7th seed of the West every single year. So that's the sucky part. They're really supposed to be in the East because they're in Tennessee. Technically, they're in the East. So it just sucks for you guys. But the Wizards, yeah, we're in purgatory right now. Bradley Beal is leaning towards staying right now as we speak. Russell Westbrook, there's rumors about LeBron trying to get him. LeBron, every time he loses, he wants to get somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Get Chris Paul. Yeah, he's getting somebody. He's getting somebody. He's going to cry. He's going to get somebody. He's going to get one big name. It probably will. I hate to see Chris Paul go over there.
Yeah.
But to get back to the Wizards, yeah, we're in no man's land. Russ is fun to see. He's a fun guy to watch. Bradley Beal are 2 great players, but we know what our ceiling is. We're not a championship team unless we get lucky with injuries. Other teams getting injured. I think it's the only way we can really make a run, kind of like how the Suns did. They just ran into a lot of injured teams, and we got to get lucky. We got to get lucky. We want to get past the second round. But yeah, Russ is fun to watch. Brad's fun to watch. I hope they do keep these 2 guys together. But rebuild mode probably is knocking on the door. Hopefully, it's not sooner than later. I do like Bradley Beal. I do like watching Russ play. They're just fun. And now, since I'm covering the Wizards, it would suck to cover a 17-63 team because I gotta make podcasts every day, and to watch that and talk about that would be gruesome. I remember doing YouTube during that 3-13 season. It was rough. That shows if you're a good YouTuber. If you were doing YouTube videos during that 3-13 season where the league done messed up and we were awful. So I can't sit through that again. I can't do it.
So, Ed, you decided to poke the bear with that LeBron take right there as we are about to close off on the stream.
You're LeBron.
I like what you did there. I like what you did there. Yeah.
Kevin Durant's better than him. That's a fact.
No, but honestly, guys, thank you both so much for joining me on this Washington Football Weekly live stream. It was a pleasure to have you guys. I mean, you guys have gotten us through some tough times with this Washington football team, and hopefully, you guys and all of us will be able to see some very brighter days ahead for this Washington football team, and maybe potentially, Super Bowl, right? We'll see.
Baby steps, Natty. Baby steps.
For sure.
Rich Eisen, all the big wigs are picking.
That's
Greenberg,
Rich Eisen.
That's why you gotta. That's why I'm like, guys, put the cups down, guys. I'm excited at how much national attention they're getting. Now let's see. I'm so damaged. Okay, they scarred me that I want this attention because I want to see how they handle it. Because in the past we always blow it after we win the division and people start talking about us in a positive light. Now I want to see different. This is a different set of circumstances. Let's see if they handle it different. Different team, different players, different coaches, things of that nature. So
For sure. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for everybody in the chat who joined. My gosh, I haven't seen it this lively ever before. Ali, Tone,
Shout out
RJ,
Taylor,
J.
shout out
Hester.
Protect.
Yeah,
My fault,
Protec
yeah.
as well.
Shout out all Seaman Sports too.
For sure. There are a lot of great Washington football team and just general YouTubers in this chat as well. So make sure you guys go sub them up. But yeah, that's it for this stream, guys. See you guys on the next couple of videos that we have up on the new and rebranded DMV Sports Zone. With that being said, have a great night and see you on the next one. Peace.